want to write a film script. I say want to, what I really mean is I intend to, I am going to. Because for the FMTV704, I believe, module, we have a screenwriting pathway, so I can finally fill out my completely self-indulgent dream of adapting my book into a film script. I have pitched the idea of writing or adapting my own book into a script to my lecturers, and she approves, and I think she's excited by it because this seems to be, I guess, a little different to what usually happens for this module, because obviously I'm not writing it from scratch. I have a whole different challenge of adapting something from book to screen, which I mostly want to do because my obsession in life is book screen adaptations and usually how awful they are. So we will see if this one is also awful. For this module, I will not be writing the full script. I will be submitting, I believe, a 500-word treatment, a 500-word commercial strategy document, which I believe is like how you get it out into the industry. I don't really know, I haven't really been told about that yet. A 10-page script sample and a 2,000-word evaluation. So I only actually have to write 10 pages of the script. So I'm going full overkill on the research and documenting my process. So the actual process of writing the script, so far, the big thing I've done is just research, more research. The first thing is researching story itself, so story structure, the hero's journey, 7 basic plots, all the things that are just about elements of story that aren't script exclusive, they're just story exclusive. I'm not going to include all the research I've done because it's very, very boring, so I'm going to put the books here that I read on this, but a lot of this stuff is knowledge that I've just gained from writing books and storytelling over the years, so it was nice to finally have an actual book to connect it to and some actual theory rather than just my knowledge. For now, in terms of planning, I've completed the potentially insane behaviour task of writing out every single scene from this book onto a note card, and you can kind of see it there, but there are currently, I believe, 53 note cards stuck on my wall. Each of us in this book, so I wanted to actually be able to visualise what's going on, and for me that was also easier of identifying which scene's which, and it's a very, I'm going to keep saying easy, it's a very straightforward way of just identifying what's going on. And for the sake of this becoming a film script rather than a TV series, identifying what can be cut. I'm going to say there's not a huge amount that's going to be cut. I think there's a lot of scenes that can be merged together, and the things that will be cut will be one of the character. In this book there are 25 chapters, an epilogue, a prologue, and now the 25 chapters, 6 of them are narrated by a different character, and I think 5 out of those 6 chapters are flashback scenes to a plot that is completely detached to what's going on in this book. It's like a whole separate thing. So if it has to come down to me cutting out big scenes, all those flashbacks will be cut, as much as it pains me, and hopefully I can have a spin-off short film about the flashbacks. But no, we've done some research, we have identified what my actual plot is, literally stripped it down to the bones to see what's going on, and now I'm going to go through with my lovely red pen, edit, cut, rewrite, combine, all those super fun things, and we will see how it goes, and I'll get back to you when I have a more slimmed down version of my note cards and hopefully a treatment. So I want to go through an overview of changes and decisions I made when it comes to cutting out scenes, combining scenes for the script. I don't want to dwell too long on plot details because this is more about the process of making the script than what's actually happening. So as you can kind of see, and as I described in the last clip, each note card is a different scene in the book. So there are multiple note cards per chapter, and it is just a summary of what happens in each one. And laying it out like this is very easy to see that up here we have 2 conversations back to back that are pretty much the same, which is why I decided to merge these scenes just to cut down on some time. Also, looking at it like this, I can see there are 6 chapters, 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6, that are this other character, and most of them are flashback scenes, so I thought they got a red line through them now. I thought I'm going to cut out those scenes altogether. There's a moment here, down here, where if necessary I could show pretty much all those scenes in a montage flashback style, which means it will take up, what, a minute or 2 screen time rather than dedicating a big chunk of the plot and the film to that. There's also a very minor plot line. Can I see where it is in here? Up here. There's a very minor plot line which is about one of the character's dead sisters and events that gave him his fear of heights. And the dead sister appears in this scene here. So I thought, because that storyline only really takes up 2 scenes and 2 very small scenes, scrap that entirely as well and just invent something new to, if specifying fear and heights is necessary. If not, I can add in, at this point they're like descending into a ravine, which is why it's a higher place. But I can add in a different scene, like, oh, one of the characters stumbling and almost falling and being caught by someone else, and then developing that relationship rather than focusing something that's in the past and then not relevant. And then there's 2 scenes that I've lined up. It's this one here and this one here that I've very conveniently lined up nicely, so I've got a big red pen arrow going down here. That are 2 different characters telling the main character a story about the same person, but it's slightly different. And this was meant to reinforce this theme of lies and manipulation and storytelling that is going on in the forest. But I thought, in a screen sense, it will be visually too similar. So I think I'm going to change one of these stories to be about someone else, just to continue building the lore of the world, instead of wasting so much time talking about one character who's not fully in this book or this film. They play a larger role in the sequel. So most of these things is cutting out to streamline the plot, things that aren't hugely relevant, and honestly they stand so separate to the rest of the plot that you won't notice that they're gone. And then merging scenes that are very close together, that are very similar. And there's one here. Because I'm removing one of the scenes with this character and their backstory daydreams, it means it makes sense that I can just rearrange. I can move forward this scene about here. This is all like one section, but I can move one event and just start rearranging events, just again to make it make more sense. I think that's a big summary of what's going on right now. It's been a while since my last update, because that was probably a month or 2 ago now, and now it's the day before the deadline. So I'm just going to tell you about what I have done so far. I'm going to share not the full treatment, because that is still 500 words, but that's a long time in terms of like minutes, you know. I'm going to tell you a little synopsis, some character breakdowns, and then what's going to happen from here. And yeah, I think that's the update for this part of the video. So, synopsis. Once upon a time, Oliver wakes up in the forest for the magical monsters, not quite dead but not quite alive either. Joined by 3 others, he must embark on a journey that will take him deep into the heart of the forest, where he will have to face the ghosts of his past and long-hidden secrets that will force him to choose between finding a new life in the trees or fighting his way back home. So, you get the vibe: fantasy, afterlife, monsters, magic, fairy tale vibes, fun. So for character breakdowns, let's do Oliver and August, because they are the 2 main people in this. So Oliver, late teens, an unself-conscious, good-looking boy with a face that looks like it has never seen the sun. He is strong, self-sufficient, and passionate about helping the others back to their lives. A free-falling love addict in addition to other substances. His secret is that he might not truly want to find the way home. A life surrounded by real monsters is better than the one surrounded by monsters in his head. And August. Late teen, slender and slight of frame, a pretty boy with paint-splattered hands who looks younger than his years, soft-spoken and hesitant, malnourished and impoverished, exhausted from his worsening condition in the other world. The forest has offered him escapism from his real life, but he isn't willing to acknowledge the cost. His secret is that his resentment towards his best friend has set him on a path for revenge. I'm quite proud of those. I quite like them. For the 10-page script sample, I wanted to include 2 scenes. One, which we were recommended, was a point of conflict, and then the other, I wanted to do the very first scene of the film and the book, just to set the vibe, and I think that showed off some fun like script formatting and script writing techniques that I just wanted to include. And also, it's a completely different vibe to the scene of conflict in terms of everything, in terms of dialogue, description, tone. So I want to include that as a more accurate portrayal of like my full writing spectrum in a sense. And the scene of conflict I chose is the big battle scene, obviously. So yeah, the plan for now is to submit this work, get my feedback from my lecturers, see what's good, what can be improved, what we need to work on. Because I've done all the planning and research I need, I think. So I literally just have to write the script. I think it's time for a little progress update. So now we're about a week before heading into the official start of the final module, which is writing the full script, 80 to 120 pages. But I've continued writing my script since, I handed in for submission, those 10 pages, and I just kept writing it. So now I'm I've done the first 2 rows of note cards, and there's 6 in total, so I'm about a third of the way through my planned content, and my script is currently around, I think around 40 pages long, so about a third of my total page count, which makes sense for the genre because, you know, high fantasy, epic fantasy adventures tend to be very long films because of world building and all that stuff. I'm going to try and not make it over 120 pages because we have limits and restrictions for the deadline and all those kind of reasons. But yeah, that's how that's going right now. I've also just got my feedback back for this module and I'm very happy with it, so I'm glad that I continued writing instead of sitting around waiting and hoping that it all went well. And then just some little thoughts on actually still adapting this book into a script. It's really weird for me to start writing a project and know exactly how it ends, because I'm not a plotter when it comes to writing novels. I just open that Word doc and go for it. So yeah, it's an interesting experience for me going around and writing these lines of character dialogue and knowing what the final outcome for their characters should be, which is also really helpful for character development, and also going into it already having written my character breakdowns. It's just like, oh, I can clearly define these people immediately instead of having to like find my footing as I did when writing the first draft of this. The only real changes so far that I've made to plot elements are fully removed a scene, rewritten a scene that I was going to remove but I decided to keep it to like include the theme of like lies, manipulation, deceit, that kind of thing. So removed a scene, kept a scene but rewrote it through a different character's perspective. I'm still centering Oliver as the main character, which is why I kind of removed that scene. And then merged 2 scenes into one because they had 2 very similar conversations going on and they were just like walking around talking scenes, so that we didn't need 2 of those. I merged that together and that was very easy to do, a lot easier than expected, so I think it just clarifies the fact I didn't need both those scenes in the first place. So yeah, that's how that's going right now. So it's been about a week since my last update. Another row of note cards is down. You can kind of see I'm down to 3, so I'm at the halfway point of planned content. I think I'm also about, yeah, I'm about like 62 or something pages through the script. So it's still going good. It's nice to know that halfway I should be able to hit the 120 mark. I might go like 10 pages over, which I can work with. It's fine, I can work with that. But this row of note cards was the most challenging one yet, and based off the amount of red pen on them, should be the most challenging one altogether. That one had a lot of revisions to make. But it was a lot of removing scenes that don't have, like the flashback scenes that don't have any impact on the main storyline, and then moving around the scenes. There's like 3 scenes in the middle that I had to move around, rearrange, merge together to kind of improve the flow, which sounds in theory very easy, but nightmare honestly. So when I get around to sending the script to readers who can critique what's going on, one of the main things will be make sure that section still flows right. Because looking at it from me knowing the book so well, I think, oh no, it's all wrong. Just because I wrote it to be a certain way around one time and now it's not. So yeah, I'll ask readers, does the flow feel right? Is there something that feels wrong? Do you feel like something's, like context-wise, is something missing? Those kind of things. And the one question that I'll be asking my lecturer at this point is, does the scene descriptions feel too novel-y rather than screenwritery? Because I'm very rare writing it that I'm writing the script the same way I would write prose in a novel, which I've had no like screenwriting training. I don't know what I'm doing. It feels right to me, but I don't know if someone else reading it, it feels too much like a novel rather than a script. And that's what's happening this week. It's only 2 days later, I've finished another row. I've taken off the next row, which is why there's only one left, so I'm on the penultimate row of cards. I wrote pretty much that entire row in a fever dream over 2 days. 2 of the cards at the end were part of my script samples that are already done. And because the scenes were so many short scenes in a row, I was just racing through them, so I was like, it's gonna be done so fast, and now it's done so fast. Main issues with this area of the script are, I think, pacing, because this is the big climax. So up to this point I've had alternating between action scenes and slower dialogue character development scenes, and so it's still there's still things happening, there's still action and movement, just in an emotional sense rather than like fight scenes. And I'm at the big fight scene, which is fast, so now I'm thinking, is there an inconsistent pacing issue, which is what I will be talking to readers about and my lecturer, or just making sure it still flows nicely, and especially with removing scenes as well that may have a different pace. I need to check that that's all good, feels right. The other very minor issue I'm having at this stage is deciding which characters are allowed to have voiceovers. Oliver definitely is used very sparingly for dramatic effect, but as he is my centered protagonist, he's allowed to do it. And now I'm debating if August can in a specific moment, but we're thinking about it because if it comes out no, if it's a one-off use, and they're not really dual narrators in this as they are in the book. So we'll see how that goes. It is now mid-June. I'm violently red because the weather is unbearable for me specifically, and I'm on my last row of note cards and my washing is hanging up to dry. So again, I've been having a very fun time because the last few scenes or note cards in the story are quite short, so I'm smashing through it quickly, and this script will be done in a couple of days. My eye just twitched. I've also had my first one-to-one with my lecturer about this project yesterday, very recently. And again, it's very nice talking to someone who specializes in script writing because I'm obsessed with this woman. I saw her on like my first or second day of uni and I thought, you're gonna be stuck with me for 6 months. But I think after this draft is done, I'm gonna set aside this version as my dedicated, here is this book adapted for screen. And every version from now onwards, specifically for uni, is going to be viewing this as a completely separate entity to the book. Because there's going to be probably a lot of big plot and structural elements, just to make it more, I forget the wording that we used when we were talking about it, but it's got to have a clear, I don't know, more conflict, a clear narrative, something. If I remember what I'm trying to say, I'll talk about that. But it's got to be one very big thing. So there may be a lot of changes to the plot, which is why I'm setting aside here's the true book adaptation and here's the film that is completely separate. So no real struggles or questions to ask at this point. What I'm going into now is a scene where I would like to make kind of a montage of all the flashback scenes I cut out, because I'd like to include them somehow, and I think it works in this scene, in this style. So now I just need to work out how you format flashbacks in a script, but I can work that out. And that's all that's going on this week. It is currently the 15th of June and my script is done. The final count is 121 pages, which is 1 page over. But as this is the version I'm going to keep for myself specifically as a book adaptation rather than the final uni project, I'm going to allow it to be a couple pages over. I'm going to put a little screenshot here of like my writing progress in a sense. There's a big jump at the start because that is where I just put in the pages that I started writing early in the project, which was like my first scene and my second scene. Then there's a big jump. The next big jump is where I put my 10-page script sample in, and then the final big jump is where I just went mental and wrote everything in one day. Although this first draft of the script is technically done, there's one thing I'd like to go back and change, is where I think I need to remove the character entirely, because in how the script is right now, she's only got one scene. In the book, she has one scene which may or may not be a dream. It's not, but it may or may not be a dream. And there's 2 other scenes where 2 different characters tell a story about her that's technically the same story but from different perspectives, which is how we introduce her, because she's going to become a bigger role in the second book. But as this is just a standalone for now, for the sake of the script, I think I'm going to remove her scene and then put back in a flashback or a kind of a dream sequence. I say dream sequence, it's open to interpretation what it is. From my perspective, it's not. It just has this whimsy, surreal vibe. So yeah, that is the one change that I am going to make after the draft is done, but it's not going to change the page count at all. So yeah, it's going to be 121 pages long. There are some other minor things I want, but for now I am going to set aside this version, continue working on the project, end this video here, and then in maybe months time I'll come back when I get a time to rework the script myself, and then I think it will be down to rewriting my treatment so it makes sense with the plot changes, redoing just any of like marketing documents in a sense, and then I hope we'll be able to go on a little journey together where I can pitch the script, probably get 100 rejections, but it'll be fun, we can do it together. Because I think I would have the kind of a realistic viewpoint of how to get into the industry in 2023, or just now, especially coming from an inexperienced student perspective. So yeah, I'm gonna end this video here. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you for the past few months as I lose my mind over the script. And I hope to see you in a few more months where we can come back on this journey together. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at some point. Goodbye.